What's up, YouTube? In last night's Sixers-Bucks duel, there was a change in James Harden's offensive approach that seemed to catch both the defense and viewers off guard. Coming into the season, there was a lot of talk about the decline of James Harden, yet so far through 2 games, he's been excellent. For years, Harden has been lamented as the poster boy for the analytics movement, and while the league as a whole has shifted in this direction, Harden and those Rocket teams were the ones that took it to an extreme. In today's breakdown, I want to look at how Harden using the middle of the floor and taking what the defense gives him might be the key to the next chapter in his career. Take a look at these 2 shooting charts. In 2019, which is basically the apex of James Harden's career, only 4% of his shots were in the mid-range, and only 19% of his shots were not threes or layups. Now look at this season so far in these 2 games. Look at the middle of the floor. He's operating there a lot more. 21% of his shots so far have been in the mid-range, and 42% of his shots so far have been non-threes and non-layups. A drastic difference. Before we get into the main parts of the video, I do want to dispel one misconception. James Harden has not always neglected the middle of the floor. In fact, the mid-range once was part of his repertoire, especially when he first got to Houston. It was when Mike D'Antoni arrived in 2016-2017 that saw Harden slowly abandon the mid-range and instead substitute those shots for what he did best, get to the rim and shoot step-back threes. Not only did the step-back three become Harden's signature move, but it got to the point where teams around the league used unorthodox defensive tactics to prevent Harden from even getting into it. Thanks in part to the step-back, Harden became one of the league's best isolation players we've ever seen. Harden would often lull defenders to sleep with his size up, step back in a split second, and effortlessly flow into his jumper. The step back was only half of the equation though. Harden would often have defenders leaning too far forward, anticipating him stepping back, but he would often dust them to the rim thanks to his ball handling wizardry and deceptive quick first step. Those 2 factors, coupled with his ability to get to the line, is a big reason why he won 3 straight scoring titles. His style did come with critics though. Many questioned this style of play translating to the postseason, and others felt like the game was less enjoyable this way. Moving on, things weren't as smooth for Harden in the 22 season. Due to numerous factors like health, roster construction, and age, Harden wasn't able to create the same separation to get to his favorite spots. Keep in mind, the analytics movement also changed defensive strategies as well. Teams were already geared to take away Harden's favorite shots. When defenses would invite Harden to the middle, he would often hesitate and pick up his dribble. Harden's main in-between counter, which was his floater, was also out of sync for much of that 22 season. Now, before we take a look at the film from this season, let's listen to an interesting soundbite from Harden himself.
Just giving defenses different looks, having a variety, a package of things that you can go to, not being so predictable. So for me, just trying to keep the defense on their heels.
The first example we got of Harden operating in the middle of the floor was in the opener against Boston on Tuesday. Harden came off the screen and the defense is playing him to pass. Harden is scanning the floor instead of looking for his own shot. He does end up nailing this one though. Last night against Milwaukee is where the change really started to become noticeable. Harden started off the night with an isolation against Holiday and he spun into a step back. Harden was also able to get to his floater when Wesley Matthews played up on his size up. The second half is where Harden really started to establish a rhythm. He came off a screen and noticed Lopez in deep drop, and instead of hesitating, Harden went straight into a floater. On the very next possession, Harden again tests the ball screen coverage, and Lopez again backs up deep in the paint. Harden sees all this space and hits another floater. One of my favorite parts of Harden operating in the middle of the floor is how he's able to weaponize his frame. Harden is 6'5", 230, he's a big guard, and he just bumps guys off of him to create separation. Look at this move against Grayson Allen, creates great separation, and this is a good shot for James. When Harden doesn't pick up his dribble and defenses honor him as a threat in the middle of the floor, it adds to his playmaking value. He keeps Portis a beat longer and opens up a pass to Daniel House. Again, Harden uses his body to create space, steps back, and knocks down another mid-range shot. Harden and Embiid get into some 2-man action, and when Harden hits the rolling Embiid and Embiid pitches it back, Harden wastes no time and gets right into his shot. And perhaps my favorite play, late in the game, Harden relocates to the left, and as Embiid spins, look how he moves right to give Embiid an outlet, and him moving also affects the path of Drew's closeout. Instead of settling, Harden gets right to that same spot, pulls up, and knocks down a clutch jumper. As you can see in the tweet, last night was the high mark of James Harden's professional career in terms of mid-range shots made in a game. And while I don't expect this to be a nightly occurrence, I think it's encouraging to see James take what the defense gives him. Instead of forcing up step-back threes or trying to find a way to the rim, he just took the open mid-range shot, and I think that bodes well for him and the Sixers going forward. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one and learned something new. Comment down below what you guys think James Harden will average this season. Like this video, and I'm also closing in on 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Peace.